We are waiting for the others. In a few minutes, we will start. Hello, welcome, Asle. Can you see my screen now, by the way? So is everything okay?
Yes, we can able to see.
Okay, nice. Hello. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, Beta. Welcome. Thank you for the welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. We're so excited to see you.
Happy to meet you.
Yes, yeah, we can hear you right now.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we will just wait for a few minutes more and then we will start.
great.
I hope everyone is able to join. Okay. We have 19 people here. I will wait a little more, but also I can start to describe our event slowly. Okay. I want to thank you all for being here with us today again. We will discuss the importance of not just being happy all the time, but rather exploring the ways to thrive in our daily lives, even when we face challenges. And we have Jennifer Salagian here, our guest speaker. I'm very excited to have her here. This is the second part of Global Career Workshop series, where we find a different professional from different branch in every episode, and we ask our questions about careers to them. And our first episode was about education. Now we talk about psychology. Before we begin, I just want to let you know that we're recording today's session so that everyone can watch later. And if you're not comfortable with it, you can just keep your camera and microphones off. And now let's check again agenda of today. Welcome again, by the way. We're trying to have you here with us. Let's take a quick look for our agenda. We'll begin with the introduction of me and our guest speaker, Jennifer. Then I will explain the goals of our session. After that, we will take a moment to introduce Bamboo, our partner organization. Then we'll explore the guiding questions. And finally, we'll open the floor for a free discussion. And today, we are offering you a unique session where you will engage with the 6 specific questions for our guest speaker. She will share her experiences and insights with us, and you can answer, you can comment, or you can just listen. But you have a fantastic opportunity to ask questions directly to a professional psychologist. And we're also creating a safe space where you can practice your English in a safe and supportive environment. The main goals for today are to gain insight from a professional perspective, to think deeply, reflect, and maybe you can find something useful to take into your real world today. So let's embrace this session with curiosity and openness. First, quickly, let me introduce myself. I'm Beyza Gözükçük. I'm pursuing a master's degree in sustainability science in Germany, and I am the coordinator of international education at Bamboo. I'm very pleased to meet you all today. And our precious guest today is Jennifer Saligin from Germany. She is a positive psychology coach and trainer, and also founder of Mind Growth Training. She has extensive experience in a company in Munich, and she is expert in resilience, strengths, and well-being in work. So, warm welcome to you, Jennifer. Would you like to briefly explain yourself, your career? How did you become a psychologist?
Thank you very much for this very, very warm introduction, dear Beyza. Thank you for this invitation, and I'm very happy to see so many interested people in the field of positive psychology and also from me. And let me introduce myself. So the question what led me into this field actually, on my path into psychology and especially into positive psychology, was not a linear career plan. I emerged directly from my own lifestyle, so to say. I'm a daughter of Hungarian Romanian parents, and they migrated from a communist system. As they have always wished to have a better future for their children. And from a very early age, this confronted me with a very central theme, the experience of belonging, or more precisely, the experience of not clearly belonging. And Germany, I was with a migration background. Abroad, I was a German one, and in between, there were questions like, who am I? Where do I belong? Am I equal? And as I know from my work, these questions, they affect many, especially those who are first generation, for example, in a new culture, or even first academic child, as maybe one of you in their family. And when existing value systems that you have, maybe in family or are questioned or disrupted, this is often met with little understanding within the family. Yeah? And this is precisely that there can happen inner conflict. And these inner conflicts can emerge. And they can emerge around your own self-worth, your identity, and of course also the need of recognition. And at the same time, I also know for the other side, there's people who have high performance nurture, the implicit expectation to function, to be enough, to earn appreciation and acknowledgement. And there is this feeling of never truly arriving. Yes? But constantly having to prove to someone or to something that you are enough. And this can leave very deep marks. Yeah? It can even leave so deep marks to chronic stress or even traumatic depression. But the good news, and this is the central reason why I am here today, is this. What has once been learned or program can also be relearned in life. This is very, very important. And from a very young age, one question accompanied I just hear, can I hear you right? I'm not sure.
Yeah, you can maybe speak a little louder, but yeah, a little muffled.
Yeah.
Okay, I try to speak a little bit louder. But
I think
Yeah, it's great now.
Okay. So let me just finish this first question. What led me into this field? It was actually the big question of the why. So why are people so different, even when they grow up in the same environment? Why do people respond so differently to similar situations? And what influence do relationships, social conditions, for example, or even structural inequality have on mental health? Yeah, and these questions have never left me. And today I research psychology with very deep passion. Yeah, and especially the positive psychology as a complement to traditional psychology. And what drives me here is also the connection between science and meaning. Because what we know today very clearly is that a large part of psychological research is not conducted with a consideration of all cultures, of all social backgrounds, of all life realities. Because
Mhm.
instead, research is often generated in academic context, in bubble, yeah, which samples which are consisting mainly of first or second semester thesis. And this leads me into the following question. How valid are research findings when they emerge primarily from an academic, I love to call it the ivory tower bubble. Yeah? And this leads also to a second question, even more important for me. What responsibility do I have as a psychologist and researcher, or you as a psychologist and researcher, regarding my moral and ethical standards when I apply psychology to people? Yeah, and especially with my intention um, to make psychological knowledge accessible to everyone, not only to a privileged few. And we have this system in Germany, which is really, really very difficult to to work on.
It
And
is.
yeah, so my motivation is not only individual, but it's also societal.
Yeah.
So I deeply believe that well-being should not be a luxury, not a privilege for only a few. And this is why I'm also concerned with how positive psychological insights can be integrated into politics, into business, or into education. And how can we how can we foster a more inclusive society? Yeah, in which participation is possible for everyone. So let me summarize this. I work in this field today because I know that both the vulnerability and the potential of human development is possible. And I know it from personal experience, from scientific work, and also from the very conviction that psychological growth is possible, even under difficult conditions.
It is, yes. You're a real specific guest for us today because your goal is very resonating with us. And actually, I have a great quote here. And I think you represent this very well. Um, if you are planning for 1 year, plant rice. If you are planning for 10 years, plant trees. And if you are planning for 100 years, educate people. So this is a Chinese proverb. And just like you said, and we also as Bamboo, we value education because we believe in this. And let me finally introduce you Bamboo, our nonprofit voluntary platform. There are lots of kids, lots of young people who cannot get a proper, fair, and solid education. And maybe it's because of a disaster, like this very recent memory of a Thai earthquake. This picture is showing the children who are still trying to get to the school by the roads that were destroyed by the earthquake and have not yet been repaired. Or they still don't have a house and a school and they attend the classes in these very harsh conditions. Or maybe they're simply just a girl who cannot get enough education. And our main goal in Bamboo is just to be a digital solution for this inequality. And what do we do to help them? We give one-on-one voluntary tutors. I did it myself last year. We help with their homework, study with them. We give psychological support. We organize workshops like this. And we're trying to raise a voice for Bamboo and all the children. These are our board of directors. As you can see, we're a big community. You can follow us on social media. and you can find the links on the Google form again. After this introduction session, we can dive into our session with the guiding questions now. Our first question is a definition. Positive psychology is often misunderstood as just thinking positively. How would you define it more accurately?
This is the question. So, positive psychology is actually very often misunderstood as positive thinking, or as a feel-good approach that says just be happy thoughts and everything will be fine. And it's exactly where I want to be very clear. That is not what positive psychology is. Positive psychology is actually a scientific discipline. By the way, the very first scientific discipline in all psychological areas that was grounded by a science into life and not the other way around. And positive psychology deals with a very serious and fundamental question, which is what do human beings need in order to remain capable of acting even in the face of uncertainty and crisis, and to live a life that feels meaningful and also worth living. Yeah, so it is not about suppressing negative emotions or kind of sugarcoating difficult life realities. It's actually on the contrary. Positive psychology starts exactly when life becomes difficult. And a central concept here is also resilience. Yes, resilience does not mean being strong all the time or simply enduring everything. Yeah, resilience means being able to return to a state of inner regulation after stress. A state of acceptance, self-compassion, connection, and agency with yourself. And positive psychology does not only ask, how do I survive? It also asks, how do I reconnect with myself, with others, and also with life in general? And another key area is the question of meaning and orientation. And positive psychology is very clear here. Meaningful life cannot be defined in a single sentence. And meaning is not something you kind of achieve. It is more like an orientation system. And I often like to describe it as a compass, or even like a mountain, kind of an Everest, to where you never own it, but you keep orienting yourself forward. And so it's not about finding the one final answer to the question, what is the meaning of my life or of your life? It is much more about repeatedly asking other questions, such as what matters to me right now, which values guide my decisions, and which people, which activities, which environment give my life a sense of meaning. And in positive psychology, it basically allows these answers, of course, to change over time. Meaning is not dynamic, it's not static.
Yeah.
Yeah, another central field is also self-efficacy, which is the experience of saying, hey, I can have an influence. I am not only a victim of my circumstances.
Victim.
Yes.
Mhm.
And here I want to, maybe later I will put it on, how to maybe copy it in the chat also.
Mm-hmm.
some of the questions. I think the topic can. But will you have access to the chat after this session?
The session will be recorded, but I'm not exactly sure if it will include the chat.
Or I
But
just copy some.
yeah, please. I can extract them after the meeting, actually.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what I meant with the word circumstances, because positive psychology does not only focus on what is easy, what is positive, or what is already working. It explicitly looks at the conditions in which people live. Yeah, and circumstances include structural conditions, biographical experience, social inequality, yeah, stress, loss, trauma, but also inner circumstances such as fear, inner blocks, and also stress patterns. So, what I want to make clear is positive psychology does not ask how can you stay positive even so everything is difficult. Instead, it asks what exactly makes this situation difficult and what do you need in order to remain capable of acting within it. Right.
That's great.
And yeah, a very central element of positive psychology is emotional work. In positive psychology, emotions are not treated as disturbances or weaknesses, but as a very, very important signal. Fear, anger, frustration, rage, or sadness, they are not errors in our system. We take them as very important information. And positive psychology invites people to look at these emotions instead of suppressing them or ignoring them or pushing them away. Yeah, that means you have the courage. Courage to say, yes, this is fear. Yes, I am so angry. That is anger. Yes, I'm overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed. And instead of fighting these emotions, to say internally to yourself, I know it's difficult, but this is like kind of the main goal to reach, to ask yourself, thank you for being here. Yeah, because without you, I would not know that something is not aligned in your life. But if you have no bad emotions, there is nothing you would struggle or think that will give you the right path. And emotions can do. And what happens when we ignore emotions? One thing is very sure that your lives do not change to a better. But when we learn to perceive, to understand, to regulate them, new room for action will emerge for sure. Yeah, and I want to mention again, positive psychology does not replace traditional psychology, but more it complements it. And this is what also is the actual state of research in positive psychology. We don't work only with what is good, but we try to complement it. In classical psychology, especially in therapeutic context, has of course historically been very deficit orientated. Next questions like what is wrong, where is the disorder, where does the problem come from? And of course, these questions are very important, but they are not sufficient enough in order to make oneself grow. And positive psychology adds additional questions, such as what keeps people alive despite trauma, for example. What enables growth through crisis and not only despite crisis. So what resources do I have? May they be so very, very small. What enables our growth through the crisis, through the experiences? Yeah. And also which strengths, which values, and which relationships, very important relationships, sustain people in the long run, or help them in the long run.
Yeah.
Be very important.
Yeah. We actually really need this perspective in our lives. And because when we just try to be positive all the time, also this leads to a big pressure. And actually, this can connect to my other question very well. It's also about another pressure. Many young adults feel pressure to have it all figured out. From a psychological perspective, is that expectation even healthy?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, from a psychological perspective, I would say that this expectation to have everything figured out, especially in your early 20s or early 30s, is not only unrealistic, it can actually be very, very harmful and dangerous, because the desire for clarity, for security and orientation, yes, is deeply human, no question. Our brains, they crave predictability, especially nowadays. They're in a world that is becoming increasingly complex, fast-paced, and uncertain. Yeah. However, identity development does not work in a linear way, and certainly not according to a fixed timeline. Never. And psychologically speaking, identity is not a state that you reach one and then you check off a list, so done, finished. Identity is a process, and it is a long life process, a developmental journey, I say. I like to call this life a journey because it's what it is, which includes exploration, irritation, doubt, re-evaluation all the time, and of course reorientation. Yeah? This is what life is all about. We change every 7 years, like a butterfly. We change, and we also change our orientation. We need to be open for reorientation. In psychology, particularly also in goal and motivational research, we often describe goal achievement as only visible tip of an iceberg. Yeah. So the summit we reach is what becomes visible to the outside world, but it is rarely the end. More often, reaching one peak marks the beginning of a new mountain. Yeah. So life is better understood as a vast mountain landscape. Peaks and valleys. But if you look at on the long run, yeah, you can see a development. And you will have phase of clarity, of momentum, and success, of course. But you will also have phases of uncertainty, sometimes also in a withdrawal, and this is okay. Yeah, this is okay. And these valleys can be deeper sometimes, but they are just as much a part of development as the peaks of our life. And yeah, from a psychological perspective, the goal is therefore not to chase one goal after another or to define identity wholly through achievement. It is actually about seeing life as a whole, pausing, reflecting, and also staying connected to oneself, even in moments when it feels that everything is falling apart. Right? And yeah, in these moments, self-compassion plays a crucial role. One one of the most important questions I want to also test. We can ask ourselves is how would you, how would I treat a very close friend if they were in the same situation? Yeah, would you treat them understanding? Would you treat them with patience, with encouragement instead of pressure? So why do we pressure ourselves all the time? Why can we not treat ourselves as we maybe treat also a good friend or a family member?
Yes. Definitely agree with you. Seeing the life as a whole, you said, right? Well, my next question is still related with this. We talk a lot about burnout at work, but many students feel burnout even before their career starts. So we should make our career finished at our young age. We should have a partner. We should have our own house. Everything is coming out at once. And what could be the reason?
So, in fact, that many students or employees already feel burned out before their professional life even begins is not a coincidence. And certainly is not a personal failure. It's very important to understand. It is actually the result of multiple factors that have been building up over many years or a long period of time. Yeah? For example, studying, university, or whatever. And burnout does not arise simply from working too much or studying too much. Burnout actually arises primarily from chronic inner pressure, a lack of recovery, also very important, and the feeling of having to function continuously without being able to actively shape your life or one's life. And this is exactly where a crucial question emerges for me again and again. The question, are you merely a participant in your life, or are you also a creator of it? Are you just present in your life, or are you truly participating? Yeah, are you only functioning, or are you consciously shaping your life? That is so very, very important.
This is a very good question. We should write this. Yes, thank you.
So this distinction matters deeply, and because a life that feels like constant reacting to external demands, this loses its sense of meaning, its sense of direction, and even inner connection. And shaping your life, on the other hand, brings people back or brings yourself back into an active role. And this is where burnout always touches the deeper question of meaning. Yeah, because research clearly shows that when people experience a long-term lack of influence over their own life, the risk of exhaustion increases, of course, dramatically. And meaning does not arise from constant performance, but from the experience of agency, of autonomy and significance. Then many young people, they grow up in environments shaped by contradictory expectations, by high performing. For example, there is the expectation to be high performing, but don't be overwhelmed. Be flexible, but have a clear plan. Find your passion, but don't make the wrong decision. Yeah. And this constant inattention consumes enormous amounts of energy. And I try to talk a little bit faster. Another central factor is the future uncertainty. Of course, also, because students are growing up in a world where traditional life path offers less and less orientation. Climate crisis, we have politically instability, we have economic uncertainty, we have also this this rising performance pressure. All these are constantly present in the person. And psychologically, this means that our nervous system remains in this all-time state of prolonged alert. And many students, they are not simply tired, they are emotionally exhausted. Not because they are doing tradition, but because they have been under sustained tension for too long. Yeah. And also, of course, what is missing is emotional education. And I don't know how it is in Turkey, but in Germany, emotional education is rarely taught systematically. There are many students, for example, they know a great deal about their academic discipline, but actually they know very little about how to regulate stress, how to cope with anxiety and or overwhelm, and also how to return themselves to a state of inner balance. And yeah, as I mentioned before, emotions are often ignored or labeled as a weakness. Yet, emotions are signals. I cannot mention it again and again. Exhaustion, inner emptiness, or even, how you call it, cynicism, are not malfunctions. They are a very, very important indicator that essential psychological needs have been unmet for too long. Yeah, and positive psychology shifts the focus here. It does not only ask what is going wrong, it also asks what is missing. Is meaning missing? Is social connection missing? Is genuine recovery? Yeah, and finally, last but not least, a very important point is relationships. Relationships play a really very crucial role. Then you can have all symptoms that a burnout would be indicated in a therapy. But if you have good relationships, I had many clients, they would mention, I don't feel I have a burnout. Of all the symptoms, yeah, well, the checkbox were ticked, but you have one or two really deep or good relationships, people that you can rely on, that also give you energy. And yeah, this is a crucial role. It's not the number of social contacts that protects you against burnout, but it is much more the feeling of being able to show up authentically, without a mask, without a role. You have to have relationships with family, friends, or partners that bring you also energy. And let me summarize this question 3. Students do not burn out because they are weak. No, they burn out because they have to be strong for too long and often without sufficient resources, without sufficient orientation or even emotion. And from a psychological perspective, young people do not need more optimization. Yeah? What they need is more spaces for self-regulation, for self-compassion. You are also someone, you are also important. Yeah? Need more spaces for meaning making and genuine connections with people. So burnout prevention does not begin in the workplace. It begins actually where people are allowed to take themselves serious instead of continuously overriding your own needs.
Mhm. That's a really good and meaningful insight because that's why we are having this session today. Yes. Then I'm moving to the next question. This one is a bit personal one, but also from the statistics of our participant, I see that we have a big percentage of undergraduate students, so they will most likely relate with this. In both work life and in both school, we have to actively contribute in a group. And you talked about relationships, and from a positive psychology perspective, what actually makes a group function well beyond motivation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Thank you. When we talk about well-functioning groups, I know that many people first think of motivation, of engagement, or willingness to perform, especially management. However, these factors alone are not sufficient. Let me make a difference here. Motivational psychology, for example, the main focus is on a question of how motivation emerges. Yes, through basic psychological needs such as autonomy, competence, relatedness. But when we talk about actually moving into action, taking responsibility and implementing decisions, there is another question. The question about taking action is much more relevant than motivation alone. Yeah, because it does not answer the question why we want something, but rather how a desire turns into action. So in other words, the question of personal responsibility. And this is what I want to make clear. That would be the level of individual. And in your question, so this answer, however, I'm now trying to review something broader. A question, and I want to make the difference clear. The question of what enables psychological well-being in groups, regardless of how motivated individual members may be. Yeah. And here, positive psychology provides also very, very clear. And there is, for example, a central concept about psychological capital. It describes 4 key psychological resources that would help people to remain resilient and capable of acting. And these 4 resources are hope, self-efficacy, resilience, and realistic optimism. And they call it the hero model.
Can we write down this also? This is a very good insight. Yeah. Hopes.
No, I can provide you with information even after the session itself. So I'm not going very. So let me explain this quickly. Groups function very well when they foster collective hope. Very important, yeah. When people understand why they are doing what they are doing, and when they experience that there are multiple pathways to deal with challenges. There is not only the one solution. There is not only the one way that is the right way. Yeah? And the second key factor is the self-efficacy. What says that in well-functioning groups, people experience what? They experience that their contribution matters. It matters the ideas that they bring, the action that they bring. It matters. Yeah, they feel it's self-efficacy. They think I can influence outcomes. I am heard. I'm part of this all. Yeah? And this experience does not arise from motivational slogans, as I explained in the beginning, or even training programs, but too simple. Yeah? From participation, from transparency, and from always genuine co-creation. Therefore, of course, if you have leaders in groups, it is very important to really be aware, try to keep this openness in the group. Yeah? And the third factor that I wrote down is the resilience on a group level. So what do I mean with that? I mean that groups, they do not struggle because a problem arises. Groups actually struggle when they lack a safe way of dealing with pressure or setbacks. So do we have an open culture, or do we have are we open with problems culture, yeah, or trying to avoid problems? So this is where a well-researched factor becomes also very central. It's called psychological safety. It describes the climate in which people feel able to ask questions. Ask questions, be open, yeah? Express doubt, admit mistakes, and talk about emotions. And very important, without having the fear of humiliation or even negative consequences. Yeah, because only if we have people, yeah, that are open, that are have the courage to ask, to have the courage to express doubt, to admit mistakes, and this is the way to where you can go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noted all of these for my next group homework. Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm keeping an eye on the time, so
Yes.
I'm moving to the next question.
Okay.
But I think you partly also answered this question, and I'm speaking this for now. And this is my final question. Then we will have a discussion a little bit. So this is actually a request for a practical tool. What is one evidence-based practice that actually works but feels too simple to be taken seriously?
Yes. Yeah. There's so many interventions that I'm working with, and it took me a while to think about it. But one of the most effective interventions we know from positive psychology is actually, according to your question, one of the most underestimated. Yeah, it is gratitude. Because many people initially react with skepticism. Yeah, simple to talk to basic gratitude. Yeah, what is gratitude? What good today? Three good things. I need three good things every day for me. And that is exactly why it is often not practiced. Yet research showed very clearly that regular gratitude practice improves long-term psychological well-being. They reduce stress. They also enhance sleep quality and measurably shift our patterns of attention to the positive, attention to what is good in our lives, not to look on what is also human, yeah, what went bad. And it is very important to clarify what gratitude is not. So gratitude does not mean you ignoring problems or you minimizing suffering. It is not about saying everything is fine. It is much more about consciously widening our focus and finding the little good things that we have in life. And
Writing mantras is a part of this, right? Because I saw the comment that Elif wrote just now. She's writing a mantra every day. Today's sentences, we create ourselves even more perfectly.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes, exactly. It is a mantra or a transformation. Then with so many good habits that we can include in our life, in our daily life, that don't take much more time. It just changes the focus on how we look at things. Yeah, thank you for the comment. So, as I said, it's about consciously widening our focus because our brains, they are evolutionary wired to scan for the threat, so for the things what is not good, what went wrong. And gratitude is a form of training that helps us also to notice what supports us actually during the day. Then in my own work, during my studies, work, interventions, I actually apply three forms of gratitude, which I also want to provide you later for yourself. that have proven very effective. And there are very intentional reasons why they are true. Why do I have two different interventions for only one thing, gratitude? Yeah, this is what I want to give you. This is like, if you take this away for the future, for no matter what intervention you will do or you will have, if you understand that, especially with seemingly simple intervention, it is crucial to consider additional factors. Yeah, but based on my research, we know that interventions tend to work best when three criteria are met. The first is temporal fit. So not
Temporal.
everyone functions in the same way. Some people are morning oriented, for example. Yeah, they think clearly in the morning, they organize themselves, or they complete responsibilities very early. And others are maybe evening oriented. And reflection, for example, what was good, yeah, what happened good, becomes possible only later in the day when things slow down. Yeah? And that's the topic is
Yes,
Sec-
please. Thank you.
the second one is which is very important, is fit with the person itself. We are individuals. So not every exercise fits every lifestyle. Some people do not have quiet space in the evening. Others experience fixed rituals, for example, as a pressure rather than support. So for me, fixed rituals, if I would not have to go every Tuesday, Thursday on a meditation, it stresses me. It doesn't relax me. So gratitude only works when it feels authentic and self-chosen and not imposed. So second one, fit with the person.
Yes.
And the third one is creating connection. So many positive psychological interventions are most effective when they foster a relationship, either with yourself, so with oneself, or with others. And the first two factors that I just mentioned temporal fit and fit with the person, with other persons. This is what we refer to here. Are especially relevant for gratitude practice. So let me just explain it very quickly. The first is the grateful morning. It's a brief moment in the beginning of the day to ask, hey, what can I look forward to today? What gives me support or orientation today?
Mm,
Um, yeah, and the second one is the grateful evening. It is not about major achievements, but it is about a small, often overlooked moment. Maybe you have a really nice conversation, a sense of calm someday in a moment in the day, or a moment that just felt very good. And there is the third form, which is my favorite actually, is the gratitude letter. We also call it the gratitude visit. Yeah, it's a very powerful exercise in which we write to a person. We write to a person what we are thankful for, whether or not we ever send this letter. Of course, when you talk about gratitude visits, the meaning behind this is you write a letter and one day you visit this person and you read it out loud in front of this person. And what will happen, yeah? What do you want to do? You want to consciously acknowledge the role this person has played in our life. And these practices are intentionally simple, not because they are superficial, but because they only work. And there is one point that is especially important to me. Every exercise, every intervention is always just a snapshot in time. It works within your current state, your current life state, and also within the specific situation you are in right now. So the gratitude is and this is very, very important for all interventions you will ever do in your life.
It is,
And an intervention is most effective when it connects what truly is relevant for you in that special moment. It also means just because an exercise works well today doesn't mean it has to accompany you for the rest of your life. And that's completely fine. What matters more is having access to different tools at different stages in your life for different concerns and also in a different state. And the beautiful thing about this is that you can return to the same exercise at a later point in your life. And you can experience it in a completely new way, taking something different from it each time. Yeah? And often it is precisely the seemingly simple practices that when we meet them again and again with openness can create surprisingly deep and sustainable impact. And to conclude, I would really like to provide you with these 3 gratitude practices after the session. I can send it to the place and you can download it.
It's really perfect.
Yeah, in PDF, you can also electronically fill it out. And I'm happy to give them to you as an impulse to explore. And also, if you are looking for maybe for further impulses for the future development, I'm also very happy to share, of course, additional positive psychological interventions that may be fit your specific topic or context you are in at the moment. So please feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this genuine invitation. We really appreciate it. Go on, please, Irmak.
Hi, thank you for giving this workshop. I think it's really helpful for especially young people because as you said, we don't really exactly understand our emotions. So to be like psychologically healthy, we should be able to control them. So my question is, so you gave an example and said most students know a lot about their academic disciplines, but they know less about their emotions. Do you think we should take it more seriously to educate young people about their emotions at schools for the psychological health and the general well-being of our communities?
Thank you very much, Irma, for this question. It is a very, very important question. And it is also a very accurate observation that you did. And you are also right that in school you usually learn what to think, but we rarely learn how to feel, why we feel the way we do, or even more important, how to regulate emotions, especially in stressful situations. And from a psychological perspective, I think this is very significant because emotions strongly influence learning, decision making, relationships, and mental health. From studies, many studies and research have shown if students are in a constant state of stress mode, surviving mode, fight, flight, or freeze, they are not able to take or to learn as effective as other students, which are in a more balanced, so to say. And this is also important when emotional awareness and regulation are not taught early. People often learn to suppress emotions, or even deal with them only once problems arise. This is also our generation, our parents' generation. We learned not to talk about feelings. There is a yes or maybe. It's not supposed to expose your emotions because it contradicts the good situation. And I don't know how it is in Turkey, but in Germany, this is the very first field, actually, school, to where we try to strengthen children. And we go into schools, we have more and more resilience workshops. Some schools even have already conducted it in their schedule, in their fixed schedule, where they say, okay, every second week we talk about positive psychology. I was very surprised. Positive psychology about strength. Very simple. This is actually the most common thing. Strength. What strength do I have? What strength do I actually bring that I can expose much more in everyday life? What is good about me? This is so effective in schools, in German schools, because they do it in a big circle. They do it all together. They talk to each other and have this relationship thing, and students talk to other students and tell them, hey, what is good about you? What strengths do I think that you have? And it gives them. This is such a self-esteem booster for the children. And yeah, so it is very, very important, and more emotional education in schools would very complement with academic education. Definitely.
Thank you so much for your answer.
Exactly.
Yeah, but thank you for the question, Irmak. It was a really nice one. I really wonder if anyone else has a question. Is there an idea? Yes, please
Yeah, I
share.
have a question also. Thank you for valuable meeting. Thank you for sharing your ideas, and thank you for all the explanation. It was very good session for us. I have a question about, actually it's a little bit quick question. Do you have any morning routine before starting the day, before going to work or something?
Yes. Yes, I have a morning routine that is very important for me. So, but also before, I want to mention that a morning routine, of course, does not need to be perfect, or does not to be always the same, or always very long in order to be helpful. It can also be the very small little things that, like, enjoying your coffee. Yeah, be mindful about when you're having this coffee and this warm smell, reaches your nose. It can be already something that you wake up and you are looking forward to.
Mhm.
Yeah, or for example, taking 1 minute to check in with yourself. How am I feeling right now? Don't take the phone. Stop social media. You will have it. You have the rest of the day. So try to give yourself that gift. Go with yourself in that moment. Ask yourself, what do I need today?
Mhm.
Yeah. Some people writing down one intention for the day. Only one. What is my one intention for the day? Others, the clients I have, they take a few time breaths before looking in their phone. And also for some, as I mentioned, a short gratitude moment works well. For me, it is so I have two children, they are 12 and 13, and I'm very happy when they leave the house. So for me, then I have my half hour silence, and I like to do sports in the very early morning. I am not an evening person, for example. Um, and I found it out about myself. I love research, so I love the work I do, and I find myself sticking on this computer like a glue on a paper. And that's why I try to give myself the peace and the freedom to say, hey, okay, you have to do household, you have to cook lunch, you have to do your sport, everything that is good for you, you do it in the morning. Even though it means I will start 1 or 2 hours later, it doesn't matter, because I go with a very good feeling on my desk to say, okay, everything I wanted to do for myself, I did it. So whatever, no matter what comes through the day, it's okay. It is okay, and they will be good. And also for you, thinking what matters most is always the fit. Yeah, routine only works if it suits your lifestyle. your energy. It also be nice to yourself. I don't want to do sport today. Okay, no problem. I don't feel. Yeah, women have also every month our, our mood is changing, our energy level. What evolution gave us, so we have to go with the flow.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there is not this one right routine. It's actually about creating a small anchor that helps you start the day more consciously.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing ideas.
Welcome. Thank you for the question.
Very nice question, Shava. Do we have another question and reflection? We have come to the end of our session, but yes, Mark, please go on.
Hi, I have one last short question. What would be the one sentence that you would tell to a very pessimistic person?
It was a good question.
Oh yeah, I love that question. Question very much.
Yeah, only one sentence.
Yeah.
It's a hard one.
Did you mean a question or a sentence?
I mean, a sentence that make this pessimistic person feel more hopeful about life.
Hmm?
Actually, yes, she mentioned a lot about finding the meaning of life, which I was not expecting, actually.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the sentence I would give is about, and also the question, by the way, if you would ask me what question, I can give you also there for the answer. And it's about trust. It's always about the core trust. So I would, my one sentence would be, you don't have to believe that everything will be fine. You just need to believe that you can handle whatever comes next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you write down the sentence?
Yes. You're right.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Also, I just want to show quickly the page that Jennifer prepared for us. This is a final message from Jennifer to you. She prepared this herself for you. Let's thank her for having this time for us. We appreciate it so much. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening, for being so patient. It was my pleasure to be here. Dear Beta, thank you very much for the organization. And yeah, to all of you, as I mentioned, I'm very open to support you, to guide you, to give you reflective questions, impulses. Unfortunately, my Instagram, I changed it to German only because it showed that, the response is more effective. But I guess Instagram has this new feature to where you can translate even audio.
Maybe.
On Reels, yeah, so you can try it out. Anyway, yeah, get connected, and I'm happy to stay connected with you.
Thanks so much. Thank you very much. Thank you for your participation. We will send the certificates if you mail me, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye,
Thank you
take
for
care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm closing the screen. Wow, it was a very nice episode. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I feel relieved. I really feel like I've been through a therapy session.
I'm very, very happy and thankful that I can share insights where I also think it's very important. And I was so happy when you wrote me and contacted me because I spent, as I said, I want to go down from this ivory tower, from this bubble, to where psychologists try to find a solution, but when questioning a solution, they don't involve the whole. Yeah, and yeah, so this is one. It is very, for me. I'm very happy to, yeah, to have the opportunity to share this special book.
Thank you so much. Okay, I will close this meeting now. It is recorded. I will send it to you. And yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So, of course, I don't know if you want to share parts of it or clips in social media.
Yeah.
From my
Actually, we can share it if you have the consent. But maybe not the whole record. Actually, I have to ask it to my coordinator, but did you want it, or would you publish it on your accounts? Did you ask?
So if I would publish maybe just sequences, 30 seconds or so, something helpful for me. But yeah, in general, just to give you the information, whenever you feel you want to publish something, sequences, questions, also, of course you can. You don't have to contact me before or ask for any information. If there's anything I would publish, I will contact you before and you can reconfirm with your.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We will be pleased. You can share everything, and if we share it, we will edit it, and I will send it to you first, and take your consent again, of course.
Yeah, same for me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe not by today because it's the weekend and the children waiting, but I will have them and you can forward it to your community or have them for your own reference. And I have some other things that I would send you some influences as well that you can have.
Support. It means a lot.
Thank you. So I hope to stay in contact, keep connected whenever there is something. Yeah, get in touch.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yeah, you too. If you're visiting Germany or Munich one day, let me know. So
Okay, thank you.
welcome. Yeah.
You too. Yeah, you too. Have a nice one.
Take care. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.